فلئن صيرتني في العقوبات مع أعدائي وجمعت بيني وبين أهل بلائي وفرقت بيني وبين أحبي وأوليائي فهمني يا إلهي وسيدي ومولاي وربي صبرت على عذابك فكيف أصبر على فراقك وهبني صبرت على حرب نارك فكيف أصبر عن النظر إلى كرامتك أم كيف أسكن في النار ورجائي عفوك فبعزتك يا سيدي ومولاي أقسم صادقا لئن تركتني ناطقا لأضجن إليك بين أهلها ضجيج الآمنين ولا أصرخن إليك صراخ المستصرخين ولا أبكين عليك بكاء الفاقدين ولا أنادينك أين كنت يا ولي المؤمنين يا غاية آمال العارفين يا غياث المستغيثين يا غياث المستغيثين يا غياث المستغيثين يا حبيب قلوب الصادقين ويا إله العالمين أفتراك سبحانك يا إلهي وبحمدك تسمع فيها صوت عبد مسلم سجن فيها بمخالفتك وذاق طعم عذابها بمعصيتك وحبس بين أطباقها بجرمه وجريرته وهو يضج إليك ضجيجا مؤمل لرحمتك ويناديك بلسان أهل توحيدك ويتوسل إليك بربوبيتك يا مولاي فكيف يبقى بالعذاب وهو يرجو ما سلف من حلمه أم كيف تؤلم النار وهو يأمل فضلك ورحمتك أم كيف يحرقه لهيبها وأنت تسمع صوته وترى مكانه أم كيف يشتمل عليه زفيرها وأنت تعلم ضعفها وأنت تعلم صدقا وهو يناديك يا رب أم كيف يرجو فضلك في عتقه منها فتتركه فيها هيهات ما ذلك الظن بك ولا المعروف من فضلك ولا مشبه لما آمنت به الموحدين من برك وإحسانك فباليقين يخضع لولا ما حكمت به من تعظيم جاحدين وقضيت به من إخراج معاندين لجعلت النار كلها بردا وسلاما وما كانت لأحد فيها مقر ولا مقاما لكنك تقدست أسماؤك أقسمت أن تملأها من الكافرين من الجنة والناس أجمعين وأن تخلد في المعاندين وأنت جل ثناؤك قلت مبتدئا وتطولت بالإنعام متكرما أفمن كان مؤمنا كمن كان فاسقا لا يستوون. إلهي فأسألك بالقدرة التي قدرتها وبالقضية التي حتمتها وحكمتها وغلبت من علي جريتها أن لي في هذه الليلة وفي هذه الساعة كل جرم أجرمته، كل جرم أجرمته، كل جرم أجرمته، وكل ذنب أذنبته، وكل قبيح أسررته، وكل جهل عملته، كتمته أو أعلنته، أخفيته أو أظهرته، وكل سيئة أمرت بإثباتها الكرام الكاتبين الذين وكلتهم بحفظ ما يكون مني وجعلتهم شهودا علي مع جوارحي، وكنت أنت الرقيب علي من ورائهم والشاهد لما خفي عنهم، وبرحمتك أخفيت وبفضلك سترت، وأن توفر حظي من كل خير أنزلت أو إحسان تفضل أو بر تنشر أو رزق بسطته أو ذنب تغفره أو خطأ تستره. يا ربي يا ربي يا رب، يا ربي يا ربي يا إلهي وسيدي ومولاي ومالك ربي، يا من بدأ بيده ناصيتي، يا عليما بضري ومسكنتي، يا خبيرا بفقري وفاقتي. يا ربي يا ربي يا رب، يا ربي يا ربي يا رب، أسألك بحقك وقدسك وأعظم صفاتك وأسمائك أن تجعل أوقاتي في الليل والنهار بذكرك معمورة وبخدمتك موصولا وأعمالي عندك مقبولة، حتى تكون أعمالي وأورادي كلها وردا واحدا، وحالي في خدمتك سرمدا. يا سيدي يا من عليه معولي، يا من إليه شكوت أحوالي، يا ربي يا ربي يا رب، يا ربي يا ربي طوع على خدمتك جوارحي واشدد على العزيمة جوانحي، وهب لي الجد في خشيتك والدوام في الاتصال بخدمتك، حتى أسرح إليك في ميادين السابقين وأسرع إليك في المبادرين، وأشتاق إلى قربك في المشتاقين، وأدنو منك الذنوب المخلصين، وأخافك مخافة الموقنين، وأجتمع في جوارك مع المؤمنين. اللهم ومن أرادني بسوء فأرد، ومن كادني فكيد، واجعلني من أحسن عبيدك نصيبا عندك وأقربهم منزلة منك، وأخصهم زلفة الغدر، فإنه لا ينال ذلك إلا بفضلك. وجد لي بجودك، واعطف علي بمجدك، واحفظني برحمتك، واجعل لساني بذكرك لهجا، وقلبي بحبك متيما، ومن علي بحسن إجابتك، وأقلني عثرتي، واغفر زلتي، فإنك قضيت على عبادك بعبادتك، وأمرته بدعائك، وضمنت لهم الحجاب. فإليك يا ربي نصبت وجهي، وإليك يا ربي مددت يدي، فبعزتك استجب لي دعائي، وبلغني منائي، ولا تقطع من فضلك رجائي، واكفني شر الجن والإنس من أعدائي، يا سريع الرضا، يا سريع اغفر لمن لا يملك إلا الدعاء، فإنك فعال لما تشاء، يا من اسمه دواء، وذكره الشفاء، وطاعته غنى. ارحم من رأس ماله الرجاء، وسلاحه البكاء، يا سابغ النعم، يا دافع النقم، يا نور المستوحشين في الظلام، يا عالما لا يعلم. صل على محمد وآل محمد، وافعل بما أنت أهله. وصلى الله على رسوله والأئمة الميامين من آله وسلم تسليما كثيرا كثيرا.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
محمد وآل محمد صلوات.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Don't mind, I have a time sanitizer. Do you want to use that?
You should do it.
Time is out again.
You should take all precautions.
محمد وآل محمد صلوات.
اللهم صل على محمد.
of Marhum Sayyid Hashim Ali Rizvi, please recite one Surah Al-Fatiha for أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي ليس لأوليته ابتداء ولا لأزليته انقضاء، وانحصرت الأوصاف عن كنه معرفته، ووضعت عظمته الأصول، والذي لا توالي عنه سماء سماء ولا أرض أرضا، ثم الصلاة والسلام والتحية والإكرام على سيد الأطهار سيد المرسلين والأنبياء أبي القاسم محمد المصطفى
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
وعلى الجوهرة القدسية البتول الأضراء سيدة النساء فاطمة الزهراء وعلى بعلها أمير المؤمنين وبنيها الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
لا سيما على بقية الله حجته الكبرى الذي بيمنه رزق الورى وبوجوده ثبتت الأرض والسماء ولولاه لصاحة الأرض لأهلها واللعنة الدائمة على أعدائهم أجمعين من حين عداوتهم إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى في كتابه الكريم ومن كان في هذه أعمى فهو في الآخرة أعمى وأضل سبيلا. صلوات.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Ta'ziyat and condolences to all of you, respectable brothers and sisters. We are commemorating the martyrdom anniversary of our beloved son, Imam Musa al-Kadhim alayhi salatu wassalam.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Our seventh Imam, as I mention always on these occasions, short profile of the Imam. So our seventh Imam was 55 years old, and he was born in 26 Hijrah, and he stayed with his father Imam Sadiq alayhi salam under his imamat and walayat for 20 years. 35 years is the span of his imamat and walayat, and 183rd Hijrah, 25th of Rajab is the date of martyrdom of our seventh Imam. In these 35 years of his imamat and walayat, 14 years were spent inside the prison of Harun al-Rashid, who claimed to be a lover of Ahlul Bayt in front of the simple-minded people of Islamic Ummah. The famous alqab and kunyats of our Imam, the plural is kuna. So the famous kunyats and alqab. Abu Hassan, Abu Ibrahim, Abu Ali, and Abu Abdullah. More frequently, you will in the narrations you will find more frequently Abu Ibrahim and Abu Hassan mentioned in narrations. So قال Abu Ibrahim, that means Imam al-Kadhim alayhi salam. And his alqab are several. Abdul Saleh, which is very frequently seen in the history, and patient, who has patience, Amin, who takes care of the entrusted trust of Allah, and Al-Alim, the scholar. All of the Ahlul Bayt are scholars, but there's our Imam, seventh Imam is specifically called Al-Alim. Um, you know, he's singled out with that laqab. And most famous one is obviously Al-Kadhim. And the last one is Zainul Mutahajjideen, means adornment and beauty for all those who perform tahajjud and night worships. So Imam al-Kadhim alayhi salam didn't have the freedom in the times he was living. That was one of those uh, tough and hardest times in the history of Ahlul Bayt for Abbas. Abbasids became strong. Mansur Dawanati kills Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. After poisoning Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, he didn't uh, bother Imam al-Kadhim alayhi salam for a short while. until his new palace in Baghdad was constructed. So if you look at the rulers and Taghut rulers under Imam's in his life, so there were six rulers. He was born in the time of Marwan, and then it was Safah, and then it was the Mansur al-Dawanati and his son Mahdi, and then his son Hadi, and then it comes the other son Harun, son of Mahdi al-Abbasi, Lanatullahi alayhi. So Harun is the one who poisons the Imam. So uh, this is just a short profile of our Imam, and Banu Umayyah were strong. So, but despite the fact we see consistent behavior of these Tahuts, that they were apparently almost all of them, if not all, almost all of them were apparently Zahiran, showing their respect, their showing dignity, honor for the Imam, honoring him in several ways. Obviously, for Riya, for showing off, not from the hearts, very obvious. But apparently, they were showing all these respects. And because of the fact that they knew that they were occupiers of the Mansab of Imamat, and it doesn't belong to them. And Imam alayhi salam, our Ahlul Bayt, Aimma were the real inheritors of this Khilafat of Allah. So Harun al-Rashid is a unique ruler of the Muslim history because he was ruling over 44 countries, largest empire in the history of Muslims. 800 million people documented in the history under his empire were living under his empire. 44 countries spanning all the way from south of Spain to start from Morocco, Tunis, Algeria, Libya, Egypt, all the way to Palestine, Syria, today's Hijaz and Iraq and Iran and Afghanistan and Turkmenistan and Tajikistan, you name it, 44 countries in this complete belt. Huge empire. That was basically the largest Muslim empire in the history ever. So in these days, Imam was almost half of the time of his imamat was under the prison of Harun and under tortures. So, but if you look at the history, it it says so. His son Mahmud al-Rashid says narrates that uh, I went with my father for Hajj. On the way towards Hajj, we stayed in a place in the middle of the place. Somewhere we stayed. People obviously are showing up to meet with the Khalifa, my father Harun, and my father said to the guard, to the person at the door, that don't allow anybody to enter until you ask the Hasab. That means the family tree, the lineage of the person. The reason behind that is because he used to give gifts to the people according to which family they belong. If they belong to a dignified family, he used to give them bigger gifts to gain their support. If a person belongs to a lower family, not famous, obviously he's going to get a smaller or lesser gift. Guards are asking questions from every single person showing up about their family. And now at the end, Fadl bin Rabi, who is the caretaker at the door, he comes to Harun and says that there's a person uh, coming who says, I'm Musa, son of Ja'far, son of Muhammad, son of Ali ibn Hussein, son of Ali ibn Abi Talib.
صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Mahmud Rashid says, my dad became so cautious and he asked all of us to become careful and control your actions, movements, and sit with respect. And then he allowed uh, that person to enter. An elderly man comes inside. He has a mark of sujud, sajda, prostration on his forehead. His face was munawwar, illuminated with viqar and dignity and majesty. And he was trying to sit in a just regular place, but my father asked him to sit next to me, and he was sitting in a lower place in front of that person. So my father kissed the forehead of this man. Look at all these arrangements that these people have been doing, apparently respecting the Imam, kissing the forehead, showing their love apparently for the Imam. All these things, all these apparent alamat and signs which people, simple minded ones, take as support towards Ahlul Bayt and love towards Ahlul Bayt. Yeah, so I remember in Pakistan there were some people who used to say about Shah of Iran, he's our Shia ruler. This kind of stupid comments were seen by silly people. This is totally stupid and ahmak to call a puppet of Zalimin to be our. So, but that's the situation, right? So, and this is how we are learning on these occasions to eradicate the simple mindedness. One of the biggest messages when we talk about Ahlul Bayt, because they got slaughtered because of the people were sleeping and not supporting them. So he kisses the forehead of the Imam. Imam al-Qadim alayhi salam, he said, I didn't know. Harun Mamun is the narrator. He said, I didn't know Imam al-Qadim alayhi salam up to that time. I didn't even know his name. And after he left, when he was leaving, my father again kissed his forehead and on departure, asked all of us to go and hold his, that means the reins of the animal that he was riding. Just in today's terminology, you want to translate it, you ask your children, go and hold the door of the limousine of the person. Just like today, in order to show respect for somebody, we open the door, just like a chauffeur driven limousines today, they open the door, right? And hold the door for the dignified personality to sit in the car, right? This is how in those days you hold the reins of the horse to, you know, not to insult someone and block the way like Hur did, before Tawbah, but to accommodate a person and to make him sit comfortably. You hold the reins to show and help him sit on that animal. So this is a way of respect in those days. This is how far Harun went to show his respect even in front of his own kids. And not just that, Mahmud Rashid said, my dad asked all of us, that means all the children, to accompany this man till his house. Let him reach his house. Go with him. Go with your uncle. Obviously, these are children of Abdullah ibn Abbas, right? Abbas ibn Abdul Muttalib is the uncle of the Holy Prophet. These are cousins of Allah. And these are all of these Banu Abbas. Abbasids are cousins of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, and look at what they did towards Ahlul Bayt. So even a relationship is not going to save you from the hellfire. It's about our amal and actions. So Imam alayhi salam, Harun says, I didn't even know his name up till that occasion. This man started to go towards his house. In the middle of the way, he turned towards me. I understood he wanted to say something to me privately. I got closer to this man and he said to me, next, it's your turn. If so, when you come into power, do good behavior towards my son. Just what Imam al-Qasim has said to Mamun Rashid when he was a young man. Imams don't have hijabat, they see the entire future, they have the whole knowledge, right? What kind of sabr our Ahlul Bayt have to be interacting with all these people, knowing them inside out and their future, but they are still interacting with these people. So it's mind-boggling to think about the sabr of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam and sabr of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
my ishtiyaq, eagerness, became more and to recognize who this person is. When I came back, I asked my father in the loneliness, who was this guy you were respecting so much? You sat, in a lower place, lower spot, and you made him sit in a higher place in front of the people. He replied, he is the Imam al-Nas. He is the Imam of the humanity and the Hujjat. Look at the introduction. The killer of Imam Hussein, Imam Kazim is doing in his own words. He is the leader of humanity and the Hujjat of Allah and the Khalifa of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Mamun replies to his father, are these not your attributes? Humanity, you are the Hujjat of Allah, you are the Khalifa of Rasulullah. He said, I am forcibly attaching these things to myself. In the reality, these things belong to him. But al-mulku aqim. Aqim in Arabic means someone who has no children. So al-mulku aqim means the government recognizes no children. That means a government, for the sake of government, even if you have to kill your own children, you will kill your own children. That's what he believes. That means I can even kill my own children for the sake of securing my empire. What you're talking about? My cousins? Even my real children can be killed by me. That's the message he gave to his own son in response. This is how Harun Rashid is. So this is how they behaved towards the Imam. So these are the kinds where in the history, if you look, Muslim empire in those days, there were universities all over. Grenada, Granada, Makkah University, Medina University, Baghdad University, Qahira University, Tarabulus, Tripoli University, Aljazair, Algeria. So all over those big capitals of Muslim country, there were, institutions of learning all over. That was the peak time of the Muslim scientists and all those famous inventors that were in the history. These were the peak times. But in the same time, when we find all these inventors and all these scientists who were indirectly, or some of them even directly, were students of Imam Ja'far ibn Muhammad al-Sadiq.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
In the same time, we find when the Islamic academic fame was at the climax, the whole Islamic Ummah was calling Imam al-Kazim alayhi salam as al-alim, the scholar. So he's the one who is the only one in the history who was called scholar right in the times when Muslim, professors, scholars, inventors were at the peak, but they still used to call Imam al-Kazim alayhi salam to be the scholar. So he's called al-alim. So in the narrations you can see it says al-alim alayhi salam. The scholar has said, the alim has said, and it means Imam al-Kazim alayhi salam only. Abu Hanifa says that I met with Imam al-Kazim alayhi salam. I asked him certain questions and he replied to all of those questions, and it was obvious that he was getting his knowledge from the source of the walayat, and I found him a faqih, a mutakallim, a scholar, and a powerful faqih and scholar, and people used to call him a salih. Al-Abdus Saleh is another famous laqab of Imam alayhi salam. So this is something which is recognized. Imam al-Kazim alayhi salam was praying. Abu Hanifa comes and complains to Imam Salih alayhi salam that I saw your son was praying and people were passing in front of him. So when Imam al-Kazim alayhi salam shows up, Imam Sadiq alayhi salam asked him in front of Abu Hanifa. And Imam al-Kazim alayhi salam says he was a kid. He says, well, in other words, that my connection between me and Allah cannot be harmed by the people. And so people which is it's in the fit of Ahlul Bayt. It doesn't harm your prayers. People can do anything in front of you, but you are doing your salat and your prayers, and you are connected with Allah, and you're doing for His sake. It doesn't harm. And if somebody's passing by in front of your salat, that's perfectly okay. So there are, people of fitna and mischief found who were buttering up the Tawhuts, showing their support for the sake of their own material interests, opposing Imam al-Kazim alayhi salam, going to Harun Rashid and saying, is it possible that a government, an empire has two Khalifa at the same time? When you show this kind of respect to the Imam, so, uh, you know, uh, how would that happen? Is it possible that people pay the taxes to two different people in one government? That means pay the khums to Imam al-Qadim alayhi salam, and you allow and pay the governmental taxes to you. That's how people were provoking the Tahuts and complaining, snitches, spies, people who are flattering, trying to flatter the Tahut, saying these kind of statements, provoking him. Well, he was himself no less of an enemy, but there were these kinds of, crooked people surrounding him. So Harun did express. So Harun obviously was ruling over the bodies of the people, not over the souls and hearts of the people. Imam al-Qasim alayhi salam is the one who's ruling over the hearts and souls of the people. So Harun Rashid did express one day that one empire cannot have two rulers at the same time, and this is where mm, he, uh, mm, reminded he reminded himself about Sindhi bin Shahik, Lahnatullah alayh, this evil person who was sent to torture to and to kill Imam al-Qadim alayhi salam. So Imam al-Qadim alayhi salam, it's important we learn few hadiths from the Imam because we are talking about him tonight. First thing, when he saw a grave in the qabrin hadarahu, when Imam attended a grave, he says this beautiful hadith, although every hadith of his is equally beautiful. Inna shay'an hadha akhiruhu la haqiqun, and keep away from that right from the beginning. The life of a human being, the end result. So we deserve to keep away from getting attached to this dunya right from the beginning of our life and exercise zuhud and become zahid towards this dunya, detaching ourselves. Zuhud means detachment from the world of matter. Wa inna shay'an hadha awwaluhu. Then Imam Qasim Islam says that something whose beginning is this. La haqiqun an yukhafa akhiruhu. It deserves that its end should be afraid of. The grave is the beginning. That's the beginning stage of barzakh, and then we are in barzakh for God knows, Allah knows how long, and then the trumpet is blown and we will be resurrected, and then it's a 50,000 year long day of judgment, and then eternity for paradise or the hell. So this grave is the beginning of the hereafter, the next life. So something whose beginning is this, Imam al-Qadim al-Islam says, it deserves that we are afraid of its end. We have to be afraid of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and his justice in the real sense. So Sayyid ibn Ta'us rahmatullah alayh has mentioned that we give to obviously on behalf of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam
صل على محمد وآل محمد.
to give away sadaqah for the dead people. We all give sadaqah for our departed ones, when father, our mother, our grandparents, our siblings, our dear ones, mu'mineen, mu'minat, we give away sadaqah in their niyat and send the sawab to them, which is mustahab. If you couldn't find And you don't have that much something to give sadaqah, then pray 2 rakats of prayers. In the first rakat, recite Surah Al-Fatiha and Ikhlas. In the second rakat, recite Surah Al-Fatiha 2 times and Surah Al-Takasur, Al-Hakum Al-Takasur 10 times. And then you say, Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad wab'ath, means then and send sawabaha, its reward, ila qabr ذلك الميت, towards the grave of this such and such mayyat. So if somebody does that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at that time, sends 1,000 angels towards that grave. And uh, along with the dress of paradise, and Allah expands the grave of that dead person till the day when the trumpet is blown, nafkhus. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provides this musalli, this person who prayed. Allah provides for this, for each, for everything upon which the sun shines, hasanat and good deeds are given to that person. Everything upon which sun shines, even if you take it in a conservative way, is half of the earth. Because when sun is shining, it's shining over half of the globe, right? So everything, or in an expanded sense, you can take the whole earth, because earth is still rotating and sun will shine on the complete earth. So as a minimum, we can take the meaning as half of the earth. How many things are present in the half of the earth? Countless blessings and existences that Allah has created. Countless. So this much sawab is given to the person who prays this kind of prayers for a dead person. This much hasanat are written for him. So when somebody performs good deed towards us, we are supposed to do good deed towards him reciprocally. Al jaza'ul ihsan illa al ihsan. Surah Rahman already told us, Al ma'rufu ghillun la yafukkuhu illa mukafa or shukr. Ma'ruf, a good deed, is a chain. Nothing can break apart that chain except reciprocating. That means you reciprocally do the good deed towards the one who did good towards you. Or shukr, or you are grateful, thankful towards him, perform shukr towards him. And also, Imam Al Kazim alayhi salam has said in another hadith, لو ظهرت الآجال افتضحت الأعمال. If the fixed time of death are become apparent, all the wish lists that we prepare, all the wishes will be insulted, humiliated. What kind of wishes I am preparing for my, after 2 months I'm going to buy this, after 6 months I will buy that, after 1 year I will buy this. All the wish lists that we make for this dunya, all of them will be humiliated if I get to know when is my fixed time of death. If I know I'm going to die day after tomorrow, and then I remind myself, oh, I was making plans about 7 years and 10 years from now. So this obviously humiliates a person. What kind of ma'rifat, what kind of understanding of Islam, what kind of worldview are we having? Just because the time of death was shown, we will we will discover where do we stand. The last hadith before I finish my speech, my madness. Man walladahu al-faqr abtarahu al-ghina. Imam al-Kazim alayhi salam says, whomsoever is given birth by poverty, richness will make him arrogant. It's another very beautiful hadith. Although every hadith of Ahlul Bayt are equally beautiful, whomsoever is born in poverty, whomsoever is given birth by poverty, such a beautiful metaphor Imam is using. So if a person is born in the times where he was poor, when so those people who suddenly become rich are the ones who are the most likely ones to become arrogant when they have more money. Man walladahu al-faqr, whomsoever poverty gives birth to him, abtarahul ghina, richness will make him, you know, arrogant. So, you know, wondering. That's the literal translation word hayran and wondering. So it doesn't know what to do. This kind of situation. So we need to be very careful that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has these tests. Sometimes He puts us to poverty, sometimes He puts us in the richness situations. The bottom line is the remembrance of Allah. Sindhi bin Shahiq La'natullah alayh is sent to poison the Imam. Imam al-Kadhim alayhi salam was alone inside the prison of Harun al-Rashid, not allowed to meet with anybody, not allowed to meet with his family. Family members were not allowed to see him in so long. And Imam alayhi salam is poisoned while he had those handcuffs and chains put on his body. You know, this is one of those unique things in the history of Ahlul Bayt that we find for Imam al-Kazim alayhi salam's Mazlumiyat, that he is the one who has been tortured in this way with all those chains and handcuffs and and chains in his leg. He was tortured, and Sindhi bin Shahiq Rahmatullah alayh is the one who kills the Imam. And after the poison, Imam is left to be in torture and pain for 3 days. For 3 days, our Imam was in severe pain and in severe torture of the poison. And then finally he becomes a martyr and shaheed. And the janaza of the Imam in Mazlumiyat and loneliness is taken by these enemies, and they just put the janaza on top of the Jisr and bridge of Baghdad, and they left. They left the janaza alone like that until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends Sulaiman bin Ja'far, this pious mu'min. May Allah give reward to him. Allah sent this pious mu'min Sulaiman bin Ja'far to come. He found this is the janaza of Imam al-Qadim al-Islam, and he takes the janaza with him, with his own people and supporters, and provide the kafan that the narration says was 2,500 was the value, and the entire Quran was written on the kafan. Obviously, we believe the real kafan was actually given by Imam Rida alayhi salam miraculously. But in the history, Sulaiman bin Ja'far also provides the kafan initially, and he takes the janaza, and the burial is done alongside with some of the mu'mineen, along with Sulaiman bin Ja'far, who provided that service for our Mazloom Imam, who was left alone with no one to support in that area in Baghdad where Imam was killed. This is the area where Imam was killed alone. But still, I would like to say to my Mawla that there was somebody to provide cover for you. There was somebody, although there were very few people to carry the janaza for you, there was somebody who were present in your tashyi and funeral. There were some people who actually cared about that, although you are so Madloom. But we have your ancestor, your Jad Imam al Hussein, whose janaza is lying there in Karbala without any ghusl and kafan for 3 days until my Mawla Imam al-Sajjad provides the ghusl and kafan miraculously. And the janaza of Abi Abdullah al-Hussein. You were tortured with all those chains in your body. And Imam al-Hussein is tortured in multiple ways with hunger and thirst and all the arrows that were on the body of Imam al-Hussein. So the body of Abi Abdullah is placed over the arrows. La yawmaka yawmika ya Aba Abdullah. There is no day like your day, O Aba Abdullah. لأنذبنك صباحا ومساء. Imam of our time, it says, I'm going to do nutba over you every morning and evening. My Mawla is doing nutba over Imam al-Hussein. We pray to Allah to provide us the tawfiq to be part of the taking of revenge for Imam al-Hussein. Ana la'natullah ala al-zalimin. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون إلهي بحق الزهراء وأبيها وبعلها وبنيها والسر المستودع فيها. اللهم انصر الإسلام والمسلمين واخذل الكفار والمنافقين. اللهم انصر من نصر الدين واخذل من خذل المسلمين. اللهم انصر واحفظ وأيد علماءنا الربانيين ومراجعنا الربانيين لا سيما الولي الفقيه قائد المسلمين. اللهم انصر جيوش المسلمين وعساكر الموحدين. اللهم فك عن الأسرات المسلمين. اللهم وفقنا لما تحب وترضى وعجل في فرج مولانا صاحب الزمان واجعلنا من أنصاره وأشياعه وأتباعه وأعوانه بجاه محمد وآله الطاهرين. Please recite one Surah Al-Fatiha for Marhuma Habib Zahra.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
One Surah Al-Fatiha for all of your Marhumin. Let's recite the ziyarat of Imam Hussain. السلام عليك يا رسول الله. السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين. السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدة نساء العالمين. السلام عليك يا كبيرة الكبرى. السلام عليك أيها الحسن المجتبى زيارة الإمام حسين عليه السلام. السلام عليك يا وارث آدم صفوة الله. السلام عليك يا وارث نوح نبي الله. السلام عليك يا وارث إبراهيم خليل الله. السلام عليك يا وارث موسى كريم الله. السلام عليك يا وارث عيسى روح الله. السلام عليك يا وارث محمد. السلام عليك يا وارث محمد حبيب الله. السلام عليك يا وارث أمير المؤمنين عليه السلام ولي الله. السلام عليك يا ابن محمد المصطفى. السلام عليك يا ابن علي المرتضى. السلام عليك يا ابن فاطمة الزهراء. السلام عليك يا ابن خديجة الكبرى. السلام عليك يا صقر الله وابن صقره والذكر الموجود. أشهد أنك قد أقمت الصلاة وآتيت الزكاة وأمرت بالمعروف ونهيت عن المنكر وأطعت الله ورسوله حتى أتاك اليقين. فلعن الله أمة قتلتك ولعن الله أمة ظلمتك ولعن الله أمة سمعت بذلك فرضيت به. يا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله أشهد أنك كنت نورا في الأصلاب الشامخة والأرحام المطهرة. لم تنجسك الجاهلية بأنجاسها ولم تلبسك من مدلهمات ثيابها. وأشهد أنك من دعائم الدين وأركان المؤمنين. وأشهد أنك الإمام البر التقي الرضي الزكي الهادي المهدي. وأشهد أن الأئمة من ولدك كلمة التقوى وأعلام الهدى والعروة الوثقى والحجة على أهل الدنيا. وأشهد الله وملائكته وأنبياءه ورسله أني بكم مؤمن وبإيابكم موقن بشرائع ديني وخواتيم عملي. وقلبي لقلبكم سلم وأمري لأمركم متبع. صلوات الله عليكم وعلى أرواحكم وعلى أجسادكم وعلى أجسامكم وعلى شاهدكم وعلى غائبكم وعلى ظاهركم وعلى باطنكم. السلام عليكم يا علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي. السلام عليك يا صاحب العصر والزمان يا قائم آل محمد. السلام عليك يا إمامنا وإمام الإنس والجان. عجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله تعالى مخرجك وظهورك وجعلنا من أنصارك وأشياعك. السلام عليك يا بقية الله ورحمة الله وبركاته.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.